Good morning, guys. This is Varsha here. I think we can begin. We have like about enough participants, and I think I'll allow people to gradually join. So we have Abhishek Periwal as our mentor today for today's session on how to solve a data science, how to solve a business problem using data science. So without further much waiting, I would hand it over to Abhishek, and he could start with giving a small introduction about himself, and I think he'll be able to do that by himself the best way. So over to you, Abhishek. Please have a great session, and guys, let's keep it as interactive as possible. Okay, thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Varsha. Hey guys, I'm Abhishek. Today's session is around the how we translate a business problem to a data science problem. And so first, like introduction about me. I graduated from IIT Kanpur in 2013, and I've been in data science role for last 5-6 years, and I worked at Flipkart, Paytm, Lending Card. So currently, I am at Flipkart, and my domain expertise, like I will say, the business domain which I have worked is fintech. So at Lending Card, I was in SME lending. At Paytm, I was in retail lending. I will say like consumer lending. They have a product of postpaid. And at Flipkart also, I'm working in lending side, fintech side only. In terms of technical expertise, I am very well versed with Python. I have significant hands-on experience with R, although I have not used R for long, 2 years or so, because of the constraint of the similar tech stack across the team. I have good experience with Spark with Scala as well as Python, so PySpark. SQL or Hive, it is very compulsory. It is very necessary. So I have good hands-on with SQL also, and Excel is something which is a complementary skill or a skill which many times will help you out in different situations. So Excel is also I'm very good at. So these are the relevant tech stacks which I use in data science work, which I solve. LinkedIn profile, you can visit my LinkedIn profile. There is Periwal is in the end. That is the name. The GitHub profile, I will also send the GitHub profile. I have few notebooks over there if you want to look. So I keep participating on. So not aggressively, but some passively. I participate in some data science competition conducted by Analytics Vidya. So there are some notebooks if you want to explore. I will send the link of that. So yeah, that is about me. So I will talk about my journey into data science. So I did BTech, MTech dual in civil engineering. It is nowhere related to data science domain. But the thing is, in our curriculum, like from starting to end, we got good exposure of coding as well as mathematics. And as you all know, data science, the coding and mathematics are the base of machine learning algorithms. So we got a good hands-on, good exposure to coding and mathematics. And at the end of the course, at the end of the degree, there was a course around system analysis of civil engineering, which is totally maths, like predicting whether with these parameters whether the building will fall or not. These kind of things were there. It was around stats, and I got interest in. I will say at that point in time, I was not aware of the term data science, but something in statistics or analytics I was interested in. And so I started with Mu Sigma. I spent a very few months over there, as I did not like the work over there. I moved to Flipkart. Flipkart, I worked as a business analyst initially. At Flipkart, I tried some, like not the predictive, but a exploratory analysis, like predicting, like finding out which type of variable are important in sale, for what vertical, what should we do to increase the sale or the conversion. So these kind of things, and taking decisions from modeling, I did. And then I started my own venture, Count Money, which is in lending space, fintech space. At that point in time, we try to build risk algorithm for the customers, so that we can provide it to the lenders. Eventually, the startup hit the wall, and I moved to Lending Cart. At Lending Cart, I started as senior data scientist, and majorly I worked on SME credit model. Then there is a model of DSA payout model, and then I moved to Paytm. Paytm had a product of postpaid. So majorly the modeling was around the postpaid, like risk model, adoption model, recovery model. These kind of things are there. At Flipkart, also the mod like I'm working in fintech domain, and majorly the major product is buy now pay later, and there are some other product which are in Flipkart, which are co-branded card is there, and some lending products also there. So I work on credit risk model, as well as there are some financial model, financial parameter prediction model I worked on. So this is my journey till far. And as I already told you guys, like the Flipkart, everyone must have aware of Flipkart, the biggest e-commerce of India, and the product, like the problem statements I am working on. So I will talk about my work. So work is like credit risk model is one, but there are some other models which I work on. Work start with the problem formulation, then we generate features for that, we create labels, we generate some insights out of that, then we do some experiment design, like these are the experiments we will do. And while experiment design, we go through some research paper also. And on building on experiment design, we train our model, and then we evaluate. So there is like when we solving a model, then if there is existing, there is already previous version of model, we monitor the model and compare the model to check like how much lift we are getting, how much improvement we are getting, and if that is significant, we go for the documentation and presentation part. So all these pieces are very, very important, from problem formulation to model documentation. We briefly touch upon problem formulation part over here. When you get an open-ended problem, how you will go around that. I will start with a example on top of this. So till now, any question, guys? Anything you want to understand? Like, I'm open. You can unmute yourself and ask. I will better, like, rather than posting in chat, I will. I love like talking to guys. So if you can unmute and ask, that will be great. Any question? Guys, just like one thing, I want it more and more interactive, because the way you will learn is if you ask question. If you are not asking question, definitely if you are not getting it, or if you're getting everything. So maybe like till now it is about me, it is about my background. So there is no question, but going forward, like there will be questions. I will strongly suggest, please ask as many questions as possible. Python programming, is it okay to get into career of for data science? Sorry, your question is not clear. Like, is Python programming okay to get into careers of data science? Yes, Python programming is very, very necessary. And if you are good with this, you can get in, but other skills are also required, like SQL, Hive, or like because everything you cannot do on Python. So no, just only Python programming is not enough. You have to work on your in terms of technical tech stack. You should learn SQL or Hive, because those are the querying language is very necessary. You don't get data in CSV format, or It is always lying in databases. So yes, SQL is very necessary. So I will move ahead. So the typical problem solving process is something like this. So the graph over here. So first you define a business problem, like you clarify like what exactly. So you basically talk with product guys, you talk with business guys, and you define like this is what I want to solve for. This is what my end goal is, how this is my model will look like. And you set the success criteria. If we are able to do this by the model, if I am able to segregate these customer by these, if I am able to predict this with this much accuracy, this is, then I can use this model to for my objective. So you define the problem statement, you define the criteria of that on which you will be evaluating your model. The criteria over here I mean is the business criteria. So you define that. Then once the problem definition is there, then you map it to machine learning problem. So you break down the business problem. Sometimes you have to find the right target variable. Many times you don't get target variable directly. Yes, this is my target variable. Yes, this is my target variable. No, you have to define it. You have to do some analysis. You have to define this is my target variable. And then you set the machine learning. You when there is some business definition, let's say I want a default rate less than this percent, how will you translate that into machine learning part? Which is the metric you will use in the machine learning problem statement to define like I will use this metric, and I can correspond that to the business problem statement. So that is like in the machine learning problem, like mapping it to machine learning problem part. Then you start your data preparation. So once you define like this is how I will select my label, you generate your label, you look into the data like transaction data or maybe some other kind of data, whatever the problem statement you are solving. You do, first of all, you never get data in the raw format. This is sorry, you never get the data in the consumable format. The data is messy, data is in raw format, and it there is like it can be on transaction level, it can be on session level, it can be on anything. You have to convert your data into the features. You have to generate, you have to think like this is the feature which can be relevant to my business problem, I will create this feature. So you create the data, you create the features from the data preparation part. Once you are done with that, you have a hypothesis like uh, this feature will give the boost to like this one. So you do an exploratory data analysis. You create some tables, you create some bivariate, univariate plots, and you check like if we are getting goodness from whatever the features that we have generated. And in exploratory data analysis, you will also find what are the data, what are the data is missing over there, what is the issue with the data, and you solve for that. In EDA also you will get an idea like what are the outliers. I'm good with the outliers, or I should I remove that? Am I building my business problem for those outliers or not? So handling outliers is very much important over here. And once you are done with the exploratory data analysis, you will jump into the modeling piece where you will design your experiment. You will go through several research papers, to look into like how previously people have solved this, and how will you define your loss function, how will you define your machine learning metric, how will you tune your parameters. So these are the things you define, you tune, you find out the final algorithm, and then you move into evaluation part. In evaluation, there are certain matrices you will track to judge your model, like is it good or is it bad. So many times there are benchmarking of the model in the industry, and from the industry you get to find out like my model is performing good or not. And in evaluation part, you also compare your model with the previous versions of the model if they exist, or previous complementary model of your business problem statement if that exists. You compare with that, and you tell like what is the goodness from this model I'm getting. And you also look into the features which are coming important, like these are the features coming important and are they making sense or not. If they are not, you go back and look into that feature and you find like if that is actually true, or am I doing something wrong. So this is basically end to end, I will say, a journey of a business problem statement to solve it. So yes, the majority of work goes around data preparation, exploratory analysis, on defining business problem statement. The starting part is defining business problem. If we are not able to do that, it will not result in the goodness of the business. So it is very, very, very important. Any question on this till now, guys? Any question? Okay.
Hi Abhishek, good morning.
Hi.
One question.
Mhm.
This data preparation and the explorative data analysis step, so as you were saying that you are already working with Flipkart and you are working with all the previous companies.
Mhm.
Is there a specific team that gives you the data which is already in a proper format or organized, or is there a team that does that for you, or is it something that we have to do?
That is something you have to do. Okay, let me tell you the modeling part, which everyone is excited about. There,
No,
the
no, I'm saying the data that comes to us. Is it completely raw data that like
yes, yes,
directly
it is
generated
completely loaded. So
from the algorithms or from the website, something
okay.
like that?
Okay, so here is the thing. So when you create the feature, you build a hypothesis like this is the feature which is going to impact my model. Okay. Once you build a hypothesis, you will sample, like when you are working on, you create some features and you check if is your hypothesis not like correctly going through the proper hypothesis testing just by some EDA or some plots and all. You check is this feature is going to impact or not. Once you are done with that, if there is an engineering team which productionize your features, because at Flipkart, we have an engineering team which productionize our feature, because the quantum of the data is very high, and we need resources, like a good amount of resources for in the Spark. So we hand over our feature with the queries and all to them. They create a proper query, a job, and they build a job on top of that. But the creation of feature, the logic and the EDA part should come from the data scientist only. It is, and feature creation is very, very important, because no one knows like which is better, which feature will going to impact. You understand the problem, that is why you can only define like this is the feature, this is the data will going to impact it. And data preparation part is the key of your, like it is the key of your problem solving, because right features will impact modeling. And the modeling piece is already like people have automated it, we have automated it our end. The general like basic vanilla light GPM, XGBoost and everything, we have automated it. So it doesn't take significant time. The significant time goes in data preparation and exploratory data analysis. So you have to do it. But on the production level, on the production level, it may be possible there are engineering team, but if you are working in a smaller company where the quantum of data is not high, it may be possible you create SQL queries and bring it in your Python notebook yourself. What ways to practice?
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you. What are the ways to practice and gain exposure of forming a business problem and selecting features and target variable, etc.? Okay. Yes, we will go through that, Prasad. I will talk on that right now. I'm not at the end. I will define, like we will solve a problem together. Although I've written it in the deck, but I want like you people comment on this, how we will solve it. So here is the thing. So this is the problem I work on. So this is basically default prediction. So there are customers we will not start from the scratch. We will start in the middle, where there are already some customers who are given loan, and out of those customers there are few who have defaulted and there are many who have not defaulted. Okay, so this is my problem statement. I have to predict if a person is going to default or not. And my target default rate is 1%, which is business is looking for. So so that is my problem statement in terms of business. Yes, this is the problem statement and this is the target business outcome I'm looking for. So my stakeholders for solving a particular problem is like these are my these are the people which are like, one is risk team. So risk team defines like the job of the risk team. Here risk team is the business team. Okay, so job of the risk team is to keep default rate as low as possible and also increase the business. Like they want to give it to more customer who actually need it, whose intention is good to pay back, they actually need it, but they want to avoid those customers who whose tendency is to default. So this is the risk team. They like, once I create a model, they frame a policy around it and they use that my model outcome, whatever the scores I predict, to give out loan to people. Like, should I give it to this or not? Now there is a problem, product team. So product team has various, like product team interact with different people. They interact with engineering, they interact with risk team, they interact with data science team. Okay, so the product team, once the product team, what is the role of the product team? So risk team has given you a problem statement, but product team has to build a product around it. So how will you model it? How the scores will be consumable? Can we use the same score across different problem statement? Let's say I am having a credit risk model for maybe one product, buy now pay later, but can I use that same score for maybe co-branded credit card? If that is, product will do some analysis and find out, and they will try to minimize, or they will try to create the work or product requirement, so that yes, if we solve for these things, we are good to go. And product also come up with, sometimes product also come up with the hypothesis, like these are the features or these are the things which can be impactful to your model. And they so many times they give the insights to in the business domain, business part also. Then comes the engineering team. The role of engineering team is to, like, once you first, like, you create features, so these features are supposed to be productionized, they should be available in some format. So once you hand over features to the engineering team, it is job of engineering team to productionize those features. But in many companies, in small companies, the engineering team doesn't do this. The reason being, you can create your feature pipeline using SQL. So there is no requirement of engineering team. But engineering team requirement is to productionize the model. Once you are done with your model piece, you give your model to the engineering team, and they will create an infra around it, and they will tell like how the customer, like once a customer fill the application, or a customer apply for a loan or apply for a credit line, how the interaction will go around, how the flow will go around. So there, it is a very crucial part for the customer satisfaction. Like, we are judging the customer at right point in time, and we are not delaying it. If, let's say, I give a credit and I am delaying with in my credit decisioning because of the engineering, I will lose money. So the part of engineering is very crucial over here in productionize the model and feature pipeline. So in majority of the thing, in majority of the companies, engineering team build the feature pipeline and data warehouses. So these are the stakeholders which you usually interact for, but it also depends on, so here risk is business team also, and the setting is almost common across like different domain. Let's say if you are working on the food delivery, the setting can be similar, will be more or less similar, where you will be interacting with these stakeholders. So this is the stakeholders. Now, like, the impact, what is the impact your model is going to bring in? So once I will solve the model, I will bring down the losses due to default. Let's say, like right now, I have given loan to 1,000 customers, and I am from there around 950 has paid back and 50 has not paid back. Okay, so now what I will do is I will use this data to model, and I will give loan to another 1,000 customer or maybe X customer, and I will try to minimize. I will bring it to these 950 paid back. I will try to make it 970 will pay back and 30 will default only. So my aim is to reduce these defaulters or increase these users. So this is the expected impact I'm getting. And since these defaulters will reduce, my losses will also go down. Now the formulation part. So till now, any question, guys? I will come to the formulation part. Okay, so coming to the formulation part. So I have to choose my target variable. So here, if I say what is the probability, so what I will say default, what is default? So let's say this is the date, D1 is the date where a person has to pay back. Okay, and post D1 there are many customers who forget to pay back. They pay at D4, D5. Are they bad customers, or should we call them defaulters? There are few customers which get some financial crunch and they are not able to pay back at D15, let's say, but they pay back at D15. Should we call it defaulters? So to analyze this part, it is very necessary, like you do some roll rate analysis over here. Okay, so so what I mean is roll rate analysis. Here, like I'm talking about specific to this case. So what I will do is I will check at my different timestamps. Let's say D1. So this is my timeline. D15, D30, D90. So what I will check, what are the number of people who have not paid back till yet. Okay, then I will look into D15. There will be some people who will pay back. Then there will be some people who will pay back. And at some point I will find like the percentage difference is not that much. The curve is almost flat. I can consider these people are not having any intention to pay back. Okay, so where I see a curve is getting saturated, I will define that point as my default rate. So how I will choose my target variable? A person who has not paid back post this D, where my curve has saturated, I will call that person as a defaulter. So I will label that as defaulter 1, and other people who have paid back, I will give it at 0. Okay. So this is how I define the target rate, target variable in this case. But it is not necessary. There are like people don't like, it may be possible that business says like these people we have to work on some maybe recovery part also we have to work on, and there is some effort and cost is going on. So we don't want these people to be we don't want to spare these people too, because the cost of recovery is very high. It is almost the amount they have taken. So I will take this as my D1 as my default rate. So you have to look from multiple angles, like let's say this is the point where my curve is saturated. I can take that as a default rate, but my collection cost is there. I will go a little bit back and I will take that as my default rate. And then maybe there are piece of penalty over there where we are making some money out of it, and our cost is going to is equal to the recovery cost. So we can call no, these customers can be there. So it is very important to understand the business where the cost is going on and define a target variable. Okay, it is not through the analysis. You have to interact with this team to understand the flow, and this team to understand the flow where the cost is going on, where we are making money, to define like, are these like D4, D5 customer, I am charging 100 rupees, but they are paying back without any SMS, without any cost. These are actually good customers. I am making money over there. Maybe 1 or 2 days defaulter, but I am making money. Are they good customer? Yes, I will consider them good. I will not consider them as defaulter. So the interaction with the risk and product team is very necessary, and some analysis is very necessary to define the target variable over here. So you got the intuition. Like this is a sample case I have solved for. the roll rate analysis. In different domains, you have to interact with risk and product team to understand the business properly, to define your target variable. Okay, so you got the point. And should we move ahead, or maybe we have some questions over here? Yes. Cool. Anyone else, like any question, guys? Till now, defining like formulation of the target variable till now. Okay, I will take that as no, and I will move ahead. So we have done with our formulation. Formulation we did through roll rate analysis. Now comes the, once we are defined with our target variable, we have to generate features. So target variable is target variable is y, and my features are x. Okay, so while generating features, let's say in this case, in the default prediction case, can anyone like assume the setting of maybe I will say Flipkart, and you tell me like which feature can be a good feature. I will tell you some. I will give you some hint. Like the people, the purchases of people, what kind of people, what kind of things the people is purchasing. Second is what are their like session data, from where what they are searching and what they are searching. Second is the instrument, the payment instrument, what kind of payment instrument they are using. Are they using COD or debit card or credit card? So can anyone tell me like any hypothesis? Okay, Kriti, many times I will say most of the times you will not get the target variable. So here my business outcome is the default. I want to minimize the default. Now I have to define a default. So default is like, first I go into the business, like what are the people who have not paid back, and according to that I will do some analysis to define my target variable. In business setting, you will not get the target variable, or you have to argue on the target variable, or you have to choose your target variable wisely while solving the problem, and it happens 80% of the time. In 20% of the time you will get the target variable, so you have to define it yourself. Okay, so we are talking about the features. Nikhil, I put in several scenarios over here to give give the flavor of the things. So here we take, the point is, in our case we take DPD30 as target variable. The reason is it is almost saturated and the collection efforts are very low. The cost going towards collection efforts are low. So we choose default rate 30, and post, like we want to minimize our cost over there. So you have to consider different angles. You have to discuss it with your business team and product team. What should be the right metric, because they can relate to the profit making and the conversion and all, like whatever the business metric, final business metric they are tracking. Is there any code where if a customer doesn't pay back, his credit score are directly affected? Nakul, I think you credit score, you mean CIBIL or something, or okay. So talking about the credit score, CIBIL actually has real-time modeling approach, or maybe they update it every monthly. So whatever do with your credit, that goes back to CIBIL. The bank reports to CIBIL, and using that data they update their model, or they update the score of the person. So it gets updated. So there is nothing like code. There is a model, and in the model, the whatever you do in the last 1 month, that goes as a feature, and your things got updated. So Prashad is saying like device used to order location, payment is also there. So these are some good features which Prashad has suggested, like payment methods. A credit card customer means like that person is already having a credit, and the person is paying back. So that can be a good feature. Uh, uh, Device used, what is the kind of device? So default can be because of a person is not having intent to pay back, or person has not having capability to pay back. So if I say iOS device users, those are mostly affluent users. Like majority of time, those are the affluent users. So yes, they will be, there is high probability that they pay back. Although this feature doesn't come important, but yes, the hypothesis is correct. So I think you guys got the intuition like how to look around the features. What are the features? So you create a hypothesis. Here hypothesis is like a credit card customer will pay back, a iOS user will pay back, and if a person who has ordered a lot, who has dependency on Flipkart, will pay back. So here you have to think from different angles. So first, if why a person will default, or why a person will not default. So first is a person doesn't has capability to pay back, doesn't has intention to pay back. Let's say if a person's is life dependent on Flipkart, like he is aggressive user, he or she is very aggressive user of Flipkart, and if let's say if because of default we block Flipkart for them, it is not good for them. So definitely they want to pay back. There is like, and there is the option like they don't want to default on that. So these kind of things you should consider. You break down the problem and you create some hypothesis and you solve for that. So once now you have your y variable and you have your x variables with you. Now you are all set to jump into your modeling. So before modeling, you have to define the right loss function. So can anyone tell me, unmute yourself and tell me what is loss function? Yes, Flipkart Plus membership. That is very yes, obviously. Can anyone unmute yourself and tell me the what is loss function? I think people are scared of talking. Cool. I will talk about. So when you are working on any model, so there is a objective function, which the objective function define like this is what you want to minimize, this is what you want to maximize. Okay. So here the setting is binary classification. So our X's are like payments features can be there. Flipkart Plus membership is there. Then browse features are there. Then purchase features are there. So there are some features over here. Then my y variable here. Y variable is a person has defaulted or not defaulted. I will call defaulter as 1 and not defaulter as 0. Okay, so this is my setting. Now what I want to minimize over here is, so let's say there is a function fx I want to predict, and this is my y. So from fx to y, what I want to minimize over here, so that I will get the right fx, the function of fx, which is representative of y. So in different settings, the loss function is different. If you are doing regression, there are different loss functions, and in the classification, there are different loss functions. So here, in this kind of setting, we can directly use log loss, which is like very general loss function which we are using. Okay, so the next problem statement which I will talk about is I will tweak the loss function over there according to the use case, and I will tell you why we have to tweak our loss function over there. Okay, so here simply log loss will work. Log loss is basically like y log what is the probability. This is my loss function, and if it is 1 and it is like 0, then like basically I have to predict like whether the person has defaulted or not, and this will give a good loss function over there if I'm misclassifying a person or that. So before that loss function, I want to understand like can anyone tell me what will be the outcome of this model, like how the outcome will look like? Is it 0 1, or is it something like some number between 0 or 1, and why that will look like? Anyone tell me? Between 0 and 1. Cool, correct. So out here, okay, I will tell you. So our classification model which we are using over here is, so these models will throw out a score over there. This like how we will define 0 and 1. Once we have some score and we choose a threshold, it like the score lies between 0 and 1. This is the probability score, and we choose a threshold. This is my threshold, and above threshold I will call it as 1, and below threshold I will call it as 0. Okay, so this is how I define my 0 and 1. The models which you are using, the sklearn library, if you do directly predict, let's say if you train a logistic regression model, if you do directly predict, it will give you 0 and 1 because it assumes 0.5 as your threshold. Because but in every setting 0.5 is not the right threshold. You have to look into, like, you have to map it. The threshold choosing is also be mapped back to the business problem. I will come to that in the business decisioning part, but you should, if you are using sklearn library, predict proba will give you probability. So you have to go ahead with the score. Okay, so I will define yes, but it can be finally defined to 0 and 1, but you have to choose which is the threshold you will choose for 1 and 0. Okay, so you can, like, if you directly do predict, it will take 0.5 as default, but your threshold will come from the business decisioning over here. Okay. So I am done with the loss. This is my log loss. Then I have to work on the metric which I will use. So here in this case, okay, I will talk about some scenarios over here. Let's say there is a scenario. There is a Walmart store. Okay, and Walmart store has cameras, and they using that cameras, they look into some people, and they want to predict if a person is thief or not. Okay, now the point is, if they wrongly classify this a right person to thief, this is very this is not required, because it can result in a very bad customers. Okay, and if a right person classified as thief, whereas wrong, like, thief person is not classified as thief, it is better. Okay, so the point over here is, when they are predicting a thief, they are very sure like this is thief. So there are several matrices which are there, and what they want to optimize for. There is precision, there is recall, there is F1 score, there is ROC AUC. What they want to like minimize or maximize for. Sorry, maximize for. So they want to have high precision when they are predicting predicting thief. They definitely want it to be thief. Okay, now I will talk about a different setting. Now I will talk about a different setting where I do, like, a person is done some screening. Let's say there is black spot on the skin, and through camera they do some analysis. They use AI and predict whether a person has a cancer or not. Okay, now what is the metric I want to go for? Let's say if a person is having a cancer, and if I tell not, it is very life threatening. But if a person is not having a cancer, and if I tell him, so according to this, the person will go for the test, biopsy or anything, like whatever the test is there, the person will go for that test. Okay, so if I say a person is not having a cancer and I tell person there is a probability of cancer versus a person is having cancer, I say not. So there is a life involved over there. A person can lose life if the person is not going for test, but this is okay. Ultimately in test the person will find out. Okay, so here our objective of the problem is to minimize the number of tests if we are correctly. So here what we are doing is what we are optimizing for. We are optimizing for recall. When I am saying I'm not missing out any person with the cancer. Okay, I'm yes, Chetan, yes, that is the way we're talking about the uh, true positive rate or false positive rate. But these are the things. Okay, precision recall are more like, I will say, it's a combination of the ratios of this. So here I want to maximize for recall. Now in the setting, so what ROC AUC does is, what ROC AUC does is they plot a curve of there is a ROC curve, and they calculate the AUC under that. So the plot looks like this, and they calculate the area under this curve. Okay, so if in business terms, if I say like ROC AUC define how good I am able to segregate my, so let's say if I plot the scores of class 0 and class 1. So once I am done with modeling, I have scores with me. Class 0 will have low scores and class 1 will high scores. So let's say if I plot them together, there are two plots on the same axis, and if I plot them together, so how much they are, how much like my model is to distinguish between these two, that is actually defined by ROC AUC. So ROC AUC here, the class 0 and class 1, I want to segregate them as much as possible. Okay, and second thing is, this is on the ROC AUC metric. When I'm training my model, then there is something which I want to so when I am predicting a person will not default, I should be very much sure that the person should not default, because if the person will default, I will incur some losses. So I'm going for not default recall, the recall of the non-default. Just like disclaimer, there is precision and recall for both of the classes, and both of the defaulter and non-defaulter, and these precision and recall are different for both of the classes. You can choose any one class and check for precision and recall of what to do with the precision recall of that particular thing. Okay, so this is the metric I will optimize for, because I want to segregate my class 1 and class 0 as much as possible. Then there are some other metric. So this is ROC AUC, then there is PR AUC. I choose I can optimize. It is not necessary I go for ROC AUC. I can also go for PR AUC. I plot precision and recall of a class, and I define a curve over here, and I want to maximize the area under this. Higher the area, better the precision and recall of that particular class. So I can go for that also. So it is not necessary there is a one particular metric I will go for, but ultimately a business goal is defined, and it can result in right precision recall. Okay, so recall means, so think it in this way. Precision means how precise I am. Precision means, let's say if I am saying a person who is having, who, like if a person is 1, and what is the probability that is 1. Okay, I will show you some graph. I think that will be able to understand you much better. Okay. Sorry. Oh shit, this is very, very small. Sorry guys. Okay, I will clear this part. Okay, so this is my predicted, these are my actuals. Okay, and there is, so one is there is true positive rate I want to maximize for. So true positive rate divided by true, like this is what I predicted, and what I predicted, how many them are correct, how precise I am in my prediction. That is actually the precision. Let's say if I predicted it one, and out of that, how many are accurately predicted one? That is my precision. And coming to the recall is actually how many them are actually one and how many them of them are I'm able to predict rightly. So precision is basically I predict one, there are certain customers I predicted one, and out of them how many are surely one. And recall is there are some customers which are one and how many of them I'm able to predict correctly. So this is basically the precision and recall. And in precision, I want to maximize my true positive rate as compared to my predictions, right? As compared to my one predictions. And in recall, I want to maximize what is the true positives versus like I predicted positive. Okay, you got the point over here, or should I explain it more? Okay, cool. I will start. So we are done with the metric. What is the metric we want to choose? And post the metric selection, we will choose the algorithm. So here, can anyone tell me, it is very, very, I want the answers over here. What is the algorithm will you choose? What is the algorithm will you choose? Guys, I want answers. Okay, logistic. Okay. So what is the, like, what is the group of algorithm I will choose, I will say. Classification I will choose, and there are many classification models are there. Logistic regression is one, decision tree is there, random forest is there, XGBoost is there, and there is also light GBM is there. You can train through deep learning also. So these are all the classification model. I will always suggest like try out every model, because every model has their pros and cons. You don't know how your data looks like. Is it high on bias or low on variance? Sorry, it is high on variance or low on bias. So I will always suggest like try out different approaches, and like choose maybe a light GBM, XGBoost, random forest, logistic regression, and work out on that and try to find the which is the optimal algorithm out there. So the class of algorithm is classification, and it is binary classification. And you using binary classification, these are the algorithm which can easily solve for that. And they have we have chosen a log loss function. Everyone has every what is light GBM? It is light GBM. Light GBM, LG. Okay, so you can experiment with all these. Now the tools used when we work for this, these are the tools used. So first I have to extract the data. When I have to create my features, I have to extract the data. I use Hive. I have to extract the data. So gradient boosting is the class of algorithm, and light GBM and XGBoost are some algorithm which use gradient boosting. Okay, so gradient boosting itself, like light GBM and XGBoost has a regularization in on top of the plain vanilla gradient boosting. So light GBM is it is light. Okay, I will write it. Light gradient boosting machine. Uh, Okay, so to avoid multicollinearity, okay, this is very nice question. So we do feature selection. I will talk about the feature selection part also. Thanks, Chetan, for bringing it up. So feature selection, when we create some hypothesis, there are many features which we create: F1, F2, F3. So what we do is like in this problem statement, it is very much required. Like we use raw features. We cannot transform our feature because ultimately in risk model are being audited. So the audited means like on the back, the government, RBI, everyone check whether we are not distinguishing people on basis of their gender, their caste, their religion, or anything. It should be fair, and it should be fair on all these fronts. So what we do is like we cannot use transform features, so we have to do feature selection, and this problem can arise. This problem can arise definitely in what setting you are solving your problem statement. So what we do is we look from the correlation point of view, and there is, let's say, F1 and F2 are highly correlated or highly negatively correlated. I will say absolute of correlation is very high. Then what we will do is there are certain methods from which we do the feature selection. First, like we do a general case, like what is the fill rate, like how many percentage of zeros are there. So let's say if I take a feature of credit card and credit card transaction in last 12 months and credit card transaction in last 24 months. Okay, these are my F1 and F2. And since these are 12 months and 24 months, I am pretty much sure like these will be correlated, because if a person is transacting for last 24 months, it is very much likely that the person will transact in last 12 months also. Okay, so now how I will choose the feature? I will look into the fillet. Anyone has some question? Someone has unmuted. Okay. Okay, so what I will do is I will look into the fill rate. What is the percentage of zeros in this one? So this can be my one criteria to choose which feature should I go ahead and which feature should I not. Let's say these are in this setting. This is one. Let's say there feature F1 and F2. I am getting very high correlation, but their fill rates are also good. Like they are 90% of fill. Okay. Now how I will choose? There are certain methods. Like there is one case. Okay, there is there is one case method where you can choose like which is having high case. You can choose that feature. Second thing you can do is you build a model. You check the feature importance, and the feature which is having high importance, you keep that and you drop another one. So this is also you can do. So feature selection itself is a vast area. There is multicollinearity is an issue, and you will always find that as an issue. The correlation is very high. You have to select some feature out of it. In some cases, you can use PCA. You can use PCA to decompose your features. Shiva Lakshmi, I will definitely I will suggest you to go and look into the KS statistics, read about it. Maybe I think that is out of the scope of this discussion. And if I talk about KS, it will take so much time. So that will be a miss. So I will suggest please Google it, KS statistics. It actually defines the distribution of two groups. So basically the distribution of the feature among the two group, how different is that? So it is based on that. So please look into that. You will get an idea, and you will also get an idea how to use that in your feature selection. Okay, so in some cases you can use PCA because you are not interested in the feature, like what is the feature important and what is not. But in this case, I cannot use PCA. I have to drop some features, and I use certain methods to drop some features, which to remove the collinearity. And in boosting algorithms, in random forest algorithms, the algorithm are designed in such a way that the effect of multicollinearity reduces, although it will be there. Once you remove the correlated feature, you will see a slight lift in your whatever the metric you are using. But in like as compared to logistic regression is very much prone to multicollinearity. But in random forest or tree based approaches, you can go ahead and use collinear feature in your model. So that is about the algorithms and the multicollinearity. Business decisioning, that is very much important. So in this, now you have to choose a threshold T, and T for which defining 1 and 0. Okay, so what you will do is here you will sort your scores. You will create 10 deciles. Okay, so let's say this is decile 1, decile 2, decile 3 and till 10. What I mean by decile, like there is a score between 0 to 1. What you will do is, you will, let's say there are in your training set, there are 10,000 customers on which you are training. You will sort these customers with scores high to low, and you will pick top 1,000 customers. Decile means I have to divide the customers in 10 buckets. So I will pick 10,000. I will put that in this bucket. Then I will fetch next 1,000 and put them in second bucket. Similarly, I will put these customers in 10 buckets. Now, when I'm putting that in one bucket, these customers are having very high scores. I will say these customers are having high scores. So if I look into the customer, these 1,000 customer, and I will slice into the people who have defaulted and who have not defaulted. The majority of customer will, like, there is a there will be a good amount of customer which will be coming in this bucket, and there will be some customers which are not defaulters but their score is very low, and they will be coming in this bucket. Okay, so if you look into this, there is a certain percentage of customer, X% of customer, which are having 1 out of these total. Those are actually defaulters. Similarly, there are I will call it X1. Similarly, there are X2 percentage of customer which are defaulters in this bucket, and there are X10 percentage customer which are defaulters. Okay, so here what is the order of, like, if I say X1 and X2, what is the relation, like, which is X1 is greater than X2 or X2 is greater than X1? Let's say defaulter. Here my prediction is like 1 is defaulter, high score mean high the probability of default, and in top bucket I am having customer with high percentage. So what is the relation between X1 and X2? Can anyone tell me? Which is greater, X1 or X2? Chetan, you are correct. X1 is greater. The simple reason is because there are high percentage of defaulters, so the X1 is greater. Now I have to choose a threshold. I have defined there that 1% is my default rate. I have taken a very strong target over here, but it is okay. Here I have defined, I have divided the customer in 10 buckets. Here X1 is basically the percentage of customer who will default. If I whitelist these customer, if I give loan to these customer, these are the X1 percentage, X10 percentage of customer that will default. So I will go from here and I will choose the customers with the scores, with the low scores, the low probability of default, and I will stop over at the point where I get the people who are having default rate of 1%. Okay, and the people who are having score the probability less than that. Actually, to clarify one thing, the XGBoost and LightGBM, these actually don't give you, these are the scores, these are not the calibrated score. These score doesn't give you exact the probability because of the imbalance in data. If your data is very much balanced, like 50% are defaulters, 50% are non-defaulters, you will get the probability distribution. But in case of this setting, you will not get the probability distribution. Okay, so in this case, you have to define like at what is the threshold. So let's say if I check the threshold and if I look into like 2 is the 0.02 is the score where I will take a cut, and people who are having greater than score 0.2, I will call them as like, I will not give them a loan, and who are having score less than 0.2, I will give them a loan, because there is like if I give a loan to this person who is having around 0.04%, and these are the 1,000 customers, these are having 4% of default rate. Out of this, 40 people will default. There is 40 people will default and remaining will not, and this will give this is not good. This is not doesn't this is what I don't want. I want out of 1,000 people, only 10 people will default and remaining 990 will pay back. Okay, so this is not matching my criteria. This is how I am taking business decisioning over here. You need to understand like how to take a business decisioning with the risk team and the product team. They will give you an intuition like how to take a decision over here. So this is what we are done with one of our problem statement. I will touch on the second. I will not solve the second, but I will added some complexity over there. I strongly suggest like think around it, how to solve it. Okay, so any question till now, guys? Any question till now, guys? Okay, cool. Next problem statement is income prediction, and I will give you a hint over here why it is different from there. And the hint is not the multi-class. Multi-class is there, but that is not the issue. The problem statement is like I have to predict a person in which class the person is lying. Okay, let's say these are the 4 bucket. This is 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, and let's say greater than 3 lakh. Okay, so I have to predict it. If I do like, let's say if a person, the actual income is between 1 to 2 lakh. Okay, 1 to 2 lakh is there. If I predict a person, it is to misclassify this person as 2 to 3 lakh versus I misclassify a person to greater than 3 lakh. So is that the same scenario? Is that the same scenario? Can anyone want to unmute and explain this? Like if someone wants to unmute and explain this. Okay, cool. So I will do that. I think like people are bored of this. So the point is like if I misclassify to this and misclassify to this, these are both of the cases are different. This relatively I'm misclassifying to this is okay as compared to this. But if I use direct multi-class approach, that doesn't distinguish this. For the multi-class approach, misclassifying a person to this one and misclassifying a person to this one is similar. Okay, so in multi-class approach, this is not taking care of the multi-class approach. So what you have to do is in place of log loss, you have to customize or you have to use your loss function wisely, so that when I'm misclassifying a person to this one, the loss is L, and if I'm misclassifying this to a person, the loss is L2. That should be greater than the L1. You have to customize your log loss. And so this is the problem statement. You have to predict a bucket, which bucket the person is there, like what is the income bucket of the person, and you have to customize your log loss and the things like in terms of feature selection, in terms of hypothesis creation, in terms of like here you directly get the label. You don't have to worry about the labels. Label are already given to you. So in this case, labels are present. But in terms of features, in terms of approach, in terms of loss function, in terms of metric, you will use accuracy? Will you use precision or recall? If there is an imbalance in data, more customer are over here, there are less customer are over here, you have to think about it. So I gave you intuition in the last business problem statement. You, take this problem statement as an assignment and try to solve it How will you go around it? How will you customize your loss function? What is the metric you will use? And the method to solve this problem will be very, very much similar. post you defined with your metric and all, you go for the modeling and you monitor your model, you check, evaluate your model, what are the top variables and all, and the tools are used. These are the same tools which are used in the previously. These are the same tools which will be used. So take this problem statement as an assignment and solve for it, and maybe write down and search for it. Always go for like look into some research paper, and I will give you one. Okay, I will give you one research paper. I will post it over here, so you will get an idea. Let me check and I will post it. Till now, I think we are open for the questions, guys, if you have any questions. So the tools first, like tools which I will talk about, the tools the skills which helped me. The SQL and the Hive, as I told you, like it is very, very much important, and these helped me with extraction of data, and some kind of looking into the data, fetching the raw data to create create a model on top of that. So this is there. Spark is something like Spark is built on top of the SDFS, and Spark gives the boost to data processing part. So Spark is majorly with the people who majorly with the corporates who have huge amount of data, like Flipkart and Paytm, because doing things on like if I start creating feature itself on the Hive or maybe Python for the population, it is not solvable. It is not possible for that. So Spark gives you boost to process your data. And if you are working, if you are since all of you will be having a intention to go to a bigger company to work for, so I will suggest like start working on, like start taking some tutorials on Spark, or start reading something on, like working something on Spark. Python is obviously like is the common tool. Many people use R also, but at my this organization and previous organization, we have used we work on Python because it is like a environment which is very, very much suited to the data science job. And Excel and spreadsheet is something which is very necessary. When you want to slice and dice the data, you look into the population distribution, you look into how the population looks like, how your the training data looks like. So Excel is very, very handy tool, and it can be used. It can be used to present your data, because you are not limited to you are not limited to I will say yourself. Once you are done with the data, you will be presenting it to different stakeholders. This is what I get, and this is what it can be used, something like that. And the domain expertise, like since I've worked in fintech domain, so I have domain expertise. But it is very, very much required, like, and you understand the problem very well. So if let's say if you are not in the domain for that, I will because I will strongly suggest, like try to interact more and more with the business and product team. They will give you intention, and they will you will able to understand more and more about the domain, how to solve the problem, and this will give you very, very much a good intention, like intuition, like how to solve, how to go around a problem. And second is research paper. Like there are like people write research paper, and people like, let's say, like solving a particular risk algorithm, how we can do that. The problem statement which I gave you, this is something called ordinal regression problem. How will you go around ordinal regression problem? So people write research paper about it, and go around research paper, and read about it, and you will get an intuition like how to solve, how to go around the problem. So Chetan, can you elaborate like what sorry, I missed that point. Can you tell me like what you want me to repeat again. Meanwhile, guys, any question? We open for the question. 5n. 5n. What is 5n? Can you? Sorry, I missed 5n. What do you mean by 5n? You already explained about the problem statement. Okay, cool. So the problem okay, I will talk about this problem statement again. Let's say if a person is having income bucket, the correct income bucket is 1 lakh to 2 lakh, and if I have to predict the person's income bucket, if I misclassify that person to this bucket versus misclassification to this bucket, so these are both of these two are the different criterias. Okay, so the normal log loss doesn't take care of these things. For that, the misclassification to this and misclassification to this is similar. So what you have to do is you have to customize your loss function according to this problem statement. So this is very much required, and the metric what you want to choose, like this is very much important. ROCUC is there. What do you want to choose? The accuracy is the right metric, or precision recall, or you want to look into each and every bucket particularly. And there is something like, due to imbalance in data, so there will be some buckets which will be underperforming. So what you do is you talk with the business or product team, and you want to understand like which is the buckets which we are more concerned about, and you tune your model according to that bucket also. So yes, the good question. And tip to increase the business understanding to deal with the problem. So business understanding. So there are two things which you definitely do. You interact with the domain expertise more. With the domain expertise, what I mean is not the data science domain expertise. I mean is the people who are working in that that particular case in the business side or product side. So a person who is the business development part of, like, who is working on the business development part of that or business part of that, can tell you about how this industry work, how this particular thing work, what are the features. He also can give you, she can give you the intuition like what are the features which will work, because they have looked into the business properly. Second is the research paper. So what, like what is the what, like many people, what they do is, let's say from the e-commerce data, they predict the credit, they predict the default rate. So people write paper on this and they publish it. You can look into those papers, and you can look into those papers how they solve that particular problem. So you can customize things according to that particular problem statement using that paper. So interact with people more and read more research papers. So these are the two things which you can do to increase your business understanding. And reading articles, understanding business, like also is very, very much helpful. So how to know which will be the right loss function? So let me tell you, like loss function is also related to your problem statement. So in the previous case, log loss can be easily used. Here, the log loss is not the right approach, or I will say weighted log loss is the right approach if I divide it. So try to break down your problem properly, like the business, and try to find out like if I do this, what are the issues over there? Now, how can I solve that particular issue? So the issue I have told you is misclassification to one bucket to another bucket. That is an issue. Now you have to think about like how I can solve this problem. like how can I distinguish like misclassification to the nearest bucket or far away bucket? I will make it different. So there are different things. You read about the research paper, you will find out how people have solved it, and you think about it, some intuition you will get. I can say give some weights. The weight will be lesser for the nearest bucket, weight will be higher for the far away bucket, and I can customize the loss function. So there is nothing like anything like predefined, like you have to use this loss function for this. You have to think the issues with that particular loss function, and you have to try to solve the issue, and you customize loss function or use different loss function for that. Okay, any other question, guys? We still have 5 minutes. Seems like there is no question. Chetan, big data knowledge, I will not say big data knowledge is required or not. It depends on the company. And by big data knowledge, I mean the processing of the data, not like running a Hadoop cluster or something. The processing of data. So majorly people use, Hive is very much compliant with the big data, and Hive is very much similar to SQL. Like queries are very similar, very like 95% it is the querying is similar. So majorly the people with having like even Flipkart use SQL and all with the big data, but people are shifting to Spark. So it is always advisable to start learning Spark, maybe in Python I will suggest, or maybe Scala. Scala is majorly used by engineering, but I will suggest like PySpark you can use. Once you go to big organization, it will make your life easier. But if you are looking into like infrastructure part of it, no. I'm talking about in terms of big data, I'm talking about the querying language. The Spark is the querying language to read your data. So Nikhil, Hive, if you know SQL, you know Hive. When you like, even I don't like, I know SQL, and I started using Hive writing the same queries, and most of time it works. In 1% of time, if it gives error, I Google it. What is the syntax for this for particularly Hive? Hive is written with the purpose of it to be similar to SQL, so that you can query it. The people who are having knowledge of SQL, you can use Hive. So if you know SQL, it is like you are good to go ahead. Java, I not used Java in my in my data science journey. I have used Java in my college. I have done projects on Java, but I have not used Java in my data science journey. So there is no prerequisite, and no one is asking until unless there is a productionization is going on and you are required to build something on top of that. Chetan, advanced SQL, advanced SQL is, you can, W3 Schools is a good source. Majorly like I do from there. So once I get a good hang of it, for the required, like many times I get some particular use cases which are very limited, and I Google it actually when I solving for particular use case. But for the basic thing, I used. And guys, one thing, it is okay to Google. You are not required to memorize everything. You are not required to memorize each and every part. Even you are not required to memorize at all. If you are not getting syntax, Google it. Even I Google it. If I Google it every day, around 30% of I will not say 30% because since I'm using it for long, it is in my muscle memory. But at the starting, when I started with Python with like maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 4 months later, I used to go at 50 or 60% of time. So it is okay if you don't remember the syntax. The MongoDB, no, it is not required MongoDB. When the MongoDB part will come, it is basically a connection and reading the data, not like how to fetch and everything. And MongoDB is not required. Like it is the use case is very, very much limited. So when you are tuning your hyperparameter using HyperOpt, you can use MongoDB, but there are better alternative. PySpark is there. You can use that. What is the purpose of PySpark? When you say Spark, is it PySpark? So Spark, you can use it with Scala as well as Python as well as Java. So when I'm saying Spark, majorly it is being used with Python as or Scala. So I have used Spark in Scala as well as Python. The majorly, like, I will suggest to go around understand on the PySpark piece. The purpose of PySpark is when you process your data, you do some aggregation, you do some manipulation. So SQL or Hive has some limit. These are querying language. These cannot calculate few things which other things can do. So Spark, let's say if I have to calculate few things on 80 million customer, and and Hive is not supported, but there is the PySpark that will come in picture. So PySpark is required over there. And one question is, I don't like NoSQL. I have not seen like for the data science role anyone is looking for NoSQL. Many of times people like JD, sometimes HR by mistake write it NoSQL in place of normal SQL. So SQL is basically when I say SQL, it is basically querying language, not the particularly like DB NoSQL or MySQL or something. It is basically the querying language, the SQL basically, which you should be aware of.
Abhishek.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why I'm asking this NoSQL? Because last week I gave an interview.
Mm-hmm.
In that I cleared first coding round and then one assignment round. Okay. After that they ask this NoSQL queries over there. I just clarify them that I know the SQLs and the PLSQL as well, but they told that no SQL they are looking. So I thought that it is a mandatory required. I thought that MongoDB has a NoSQL, but they told that no, MongoDB has not a NoSQL things. So I mean, how to tackle the situation over there? Because we already I cleared the 2 rounds, but after that I got to know that this NoSQLs are coming, and if you don't know that, it is better to say that no over there in the interview only, or how we will tackle that.
Okay, so first you have to understand, what is exactly their requirement. So is it like what the thing you will be doing that there? So is it like querying things and querying things? So you have to ask like, can we use SQL on this? What is the purpose of NoSQL particularly for the querying? Can't we use SQL like simple querying language? So these kind of scenarios arises very, very less. Personally, I have not encountered such situation with any of my mentees or anyone I am guiding. I have guided till now. I have not encountered any such situation till now. But this is the first time I am seeing like they are looking for the NoSQL. So I will first always understand like what they are exactly looking for, and tell them, like, let's say if you don't know, tell them the relevant thing which you know, and try to convince them that you can learn this part. So you know SQL, like let's say if someone says many people don't understand like SQL and Hive are same. At the HR level, they ask like, we know we require Hive. So tell them like SQL and Hive are same. I know SQL, I know Hive, and it is not a difficulty for me. And if some syntax are different, few syntax are different, I can learn it. It is very like one day thing. I can learn it. So tackle these problem in this way. But it is very much required, like you understand like what they exactly, like not from the querying language, what they exactly want to do with that particular skill set, and can you complement that with some other skill set you have.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, I will stop sharing. Yes, I will post my LinkedIn and GitHub. Let me ping my GitHub and LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn profile. This is my GitHub profile.
Thanks, Abhishek. I think we don't have any more questions. So, guys, feel free to connect with Abhishek on LinkedIn, especially, and follow his work. So, I think we can end this session here. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Abhishek, for a wonderful session.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you,
everyone.
guys. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Arnav, did you have a question for you? Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks. Thank you so much. Please fill the feedback form, guys. Thank you.